like a year. 3 days till Christmas, and then you'll be here. So get on that slow train and ride through these snow plains. But if you can make it, I'll just imagine you here and hope to see you on Christmas next year. Once upon a time, in a land called... Oh no. Oh, what was it called again? Oh, I would have said it 100 times. Once upon a time, in a land called... It's on the tip of my tongue, I swear. Well, we'll just call it a land not so far away. In this land, not so far away, there once stood a little house in the middle of a wide, magical snowy plain. Can you see it? Well, I bet you can't. It's hard to imagine there would indeed be a house over yonder in this lonely valley. For it was so small and almost entirely covered under 15 feet of pure white snow. Not a single soul on earth had ever seen this little house. In fact, it isn't really of much importance to our story. What matters is, in this little house lived a little man. The little man was called... Oh, for Christmas' sake! The man was called the little man in the little house. He was a lonely man. He was... Not once had he ever had a visitor. Not once had he ever seen a living human being. And never had anyone seen him. Well, I don't believe anybody ever knew this little man even existed. This made him rather sad. Day after day, alone on a hill, waiting for somebody who wants to meet him. Until today. Aha! Nah, this is where things get interesting. On this cold and snowy winter morning, the little man in the little house sat by the fire. The teapot was sizzling on the stove, and his black cat Rosie was sleeping on his lap. She was curled up in a ball and softly purring. Tiny beams of weak sunlight filtered through the cracks in the wooden walls, bringing a little bit of light into the room and making the long, freezing winter a little more bearable. Suddenly, he hears a knock at the door. The little man in the little house jumps up in terror. He starts sweating vigorously and shivers with fear, for never had he had anyone knock at his door. Oh, who could it be? The little man wonders. Could it be somebody who's lost its way and wants to ask for directions? Is it the tax man? After all these years, somebody who wants to be my friend? A second knock wakes him up from his daydream. Nervously, he walks to the door. His legs are shaking and his heart is racing with excitement. Slowly, he opens the door. Good morning, sir. I'm just a little snowman. Didn't mean to cause a stir. It's just that it's so cold outside and I'm freezing here, you see. Would it be too much to ask a little warmth for me? A visitor? For me? Oh, please do come in, the little man said. It's so wonderful to finally meet somebody. The snowman eagerly rushed inside, hoping to shake the freezing cold of his body. And please wipe your feet and you can hang your coat on... Oh, well, just make yourself at home. The snowman, still shivering, rushes to the fireplace. He closes his eyes and he dreams away. A cup of tea, perhaps, says the little man in the little house. I made it this morning. Snowman doesn't answer. He's enjoying the warmth of the little house, the purring cat Rosie, the soft pillows on a chair, and the crackling fire. The little man, still in awe of this welcome surprise, looks his new friend up and down. A gentle smile appears on his face. That's a funny-looking snowman, he thinks to himself. He's made up of 3 snowballs, a big snowball for his belly and 2 smaller ones on top of it. He has some small rocks on his chest that look like buttons, yet they don't seem to be holding a jacket. On his head, he wears a worn-off top hat with a hole in the side. His eyes seem to be 2 cranberries, and his nose is a frozen carrot. I'll tell you what, Mr. Snowman, you're the first person in all of my life that has ever visited me. The first person I've ever spoken to. It's just, I guess, nobody really likes me, I think. I must have done something wrong, and that's perhaps why I never get a visitor and nobody wants to be my friend. Well, nonsense, says the snowman. You're a lovely man, I bet. The kind I would invite for dinner. I'm sure there's nothing wrong with you, and if you don't know now, you know, winner. Really? Says the little man in the little house. His eyes lit up with happiness and his mouth fell open from excitement. For the first time in his life, the little man in the little house was almost happy. Will you be my friend, Mr. Snowman? Mr. Snowman? Mr. Snowman, it seems your nose is dripping and your top hat is slipping. Your eyes, Mr. Snowman, they're sliding down your face. Oh, what should I do? Screamed the little man, tears running down his face, falling on the floor, mixing with the puddle of water that could have been his friend. Oh no, oh no, oh no, I'm melting. Was my body was the cold I knew? Should have stayed outside, should have never tried. I'm a man of snow, but how could I know that for wishing once that I could be like you? It's time I said goodbye. Goodbye, said the snowman. Goodbye, said the little man in the little house. You were my only friend, but in the end I must have done something wrong again. 3 days till Christmas, feels like a year. 3 days till Christmas, and then you'll be here. So get on that slow train and ride through these snow plains. And if you can't make it, just imagine you here and hope to see you on Christmas next year. Ook nog niet volledig.